that's good. I'm recording this so that you can watch it later when you want to go back to reference certain things. Okay, so my PowerPoint is somehow corrupted the PowerPoint file. So I'm using this PDF file, which is what you see. Boolean expressions, we already discussed that, right? Okay, flow of control. Okay, how many of you read this? How many of you read this before class? Let me see. I am going to pause. Okay, you are using this equal sign to, this is for assignment, right? You are assigning a value to the left-hand side variable. And so it's single. This is for Boolean expressions, testing equality. And so that's the difference. Okay, Boolean expressions, you understand this? The only difference here, if you look at this from Python, okay, difference from Python is this parenthesis. In Python, you put parentheses around the Boolean expression, but you don't have to. As I said, Python is very lenient, it's syntax. So here you must have parentheses. You also, in Python, you have to have the colon, right? Here you don't. You put the parentheses there, that's it. And you indent it. This is, if this is true, you do this. So no colon, but you must have parentheses. Actually, if you don't have parentheses, it doesn't work. Okay, so let's look at this example. This is a class, this is the method, this is a final variable. It's a constant, right? When it's a final, you must make it capitalized. If you don't, does it compile? Yes, but by convention, you want to capitalize all your final variables. Declare a scanner object named scan, and then print out the instruction and read next int, and you say you entered age. If age is less than minor, notice that here you have parentheses, no colon. That's the only difference, everybody, okay? Any questions? Logical operators. I cannot write with this. In Python, you have, I can actually write it here. No? No. Okay, but in Python, remember, you have actually the word not, and or, right? In Java, it's not the word itself, it's the symbol. So this is not, this is and this is or. The or operator, you on your keyboard, it would be the press shift and the backward slash. Okay, that's the or symbol. Can you all find it? Yes? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. That's or, and you know, okay, not. So these are called logical operators. They are used to negate or connect Boolean expressions. So if you look at this is a Boolean expression. This x is greater than y. It's a Boolean expression. And y is greater than z. This is a Boolean expression, right? And you are using and to connect them. In Python, it would be the word and. Here you use the symbol double ampersand. Okay, so that's the logic is the same. It's just the symbol is different. Okay, and this is wrong. This would be wrong. Why? Because
there's 3.
Yes, yes, because here you have one expression, right? And here, this is not an expression, it's just the z. This z, if z is, okay, I will ask you this question. When would this expression be correct? Only when z is what? Only when z is a Boolean variable. If it's not a Boolean variable, if it's any other variables, you need to have an expression. So this does not work, okay? Assume z is the same type as x and y, this would be wrong. So you need to connect it with two, just something like this, two Boolean expressions, not a single variable, unless it's a Boolean variable. Okay, questions? Okay, logical not, you understand this, right? A is true or false, not A is false, not true, not false, it's true. So it negates the logic. True, not true, is false, right? So I have a question for you. What is the data type of A in the truth table here? What is the data type of A?
A Boolean?
Yes, very good. A Boolean, yes. This is basically a Boolean expression, right? A Boolean expression is something like this. This is a Boolean expression, okay? And this whole thing is a Boolean expression. It can only be true or false, and that's what this is. This A and not A. It's just using that one variable name to represent a Boolean expression. Very good. Let's go on. Logical and logical or. And everybody, if you have questions, just stop me, okay? Don't think, oh, we have to go. If you have questions, we need to deal with those questions. So just know that. Logical and logical or. This you understand. We learned this in Python already. A, what is the data type of A? And B, everybody?
Boolean.
Boolean, yes. They are just Boolean expressions. We are just using A and B as represent Boolean expressions. Okay, so A and B is true if both are true. A or B if one of them is true. And we learned this already, so I don't need to talk about that. And you can look at this truth table. Okay, if A is true, B is true, then A and B is true, and A or B is true. Okay, so you can look at that. And now let me ask you this. So found, what's the data type of found if you look at this Boolean expression?
Well, since it has that the exclamation mark in front of it, it's a Boolean?
It's a Boolean, yes. This found variable is a Boolean because not is the negation logical operator. It can only work on a Boolean variable. So this is saying total is less than, okay? So if you look at this, this is an arithmetic expression here, right? Arithmetic expression. This will be calculated first, and then it will be compared with the total. And once you get a Boolean value here with this whole expression, then you evaluate this, right? And then you evaluate the end. And actually with short circuit, everybody, you remember short circuit. If this expression evaluates to false, it will stop because there is no purpose of going on, because both have to be true. If one is false already, you know the whole expression is false, right? Any questions?
Does the exclamation mark have to be before or after the Boolean?
No, not after, before.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely cool. Before, always before. Okay, so this is the operation precedence rule. If parentheses are omitted from the Boolean expressions, the default precedence of operations is perform the not first, perform relational operations such as this next, perform, I should add arithmetic there first, perform and then or. So notice that if you have both and or, and goes first. So if you have, can I write? No, I cannot. Okay, if you have X, suppose they are all Boolean expressions, okay? A or B and C. A or B and C. Then you will have to do A or B and C. You have to do B and C first, and then do A or that expression. Okay, so that's what this means. And goes first. When you have both and or, then and goes first. Questions? I do have this here. This is more comprehensive. So these are the unary operators. Unary operators means they just have one operand negation, positive, these are just one operand, right? And this is increment, decrement, they just need one operand. So they are called unary operators. And then you will do arithmetic operators. So just like this one, you do this one first because it's arithmetic. And then you do arithmetic, you do the you do the multiplication, division, remainder first, and then plus and minus, and then Boolean, and then equality, and then and then or. So that's the precedence rule, and you can look at that. Okay, so I'm giving you some examples here. If you look at this, this is okay, here we use parentheses to enforce precedence, right? But if you don't have parentheses, this one will be evaluated the same way. Why? Because if you look at this, this is arithmetic, so it goes first. We do this one first, and then we evaluate this whole relational operation. First, whatever value that is, you use that value to compare with 2. And then you will do this side first, this side. This is a -3. I believe I meant that to be a -3, but the space doesn't work there. So this is -3. We evaluate that one first, and then we evaluate this arithmetic, and then we evaluate the whole thing, right? And after that, we evaluate this all. So even without the parentheses, it works exactly the same way. However, we want to put parentheses there. We always want to do that because it's easier to read. That's the only reason. So this is some example. You can look at this. We talked about this already. Okay. So this one, this is, for example, if y is 8, I'm looking at why I gave you this example. Boolean expressions are evaluated using values from the truth tables. For example, it's y is 8. Okay, we will do y is 8 is less than 3. That's false. So that will be false here. And 8 is greater than 7. That's true. So that will be true here, right? It is evaluated like this. And then you will evaluate false or true. False or true, you have one true. So because it's or, it gives you a true here. And then not true will give you false. That's how this is evaluated. Any questions? Okay, short circuit, it simply means, once again, if the expression, the expression before the end, okay, if it's false, you stop. Because you already know with the end, all expressions have to be true. If the one before the end is already false, there is no meaning going forward. You stop there because the whole expression will be false anyway. So that's what this means. Okay. So if x is -2, for example, then this expression would be false. And then you stop evaluating. Because whatever this is, it doesn't matter anymore, right? Okay, so if it's connected with an or, on the other hand, you look for the one true expression. Once you find a true expression, you stop because there is no meaning going forward because you just need one true expression. That is called short circuit. You immediately stop. Any questions, everybody? Okay, so assume x is -2, then this expression will be false. You will stop. So this whole expression will be false. Assume x is 4, you won't stop because this expression is true and you continue to see if this is true. This is also true, then the whole thing is true, right? Okay, x is 10. This is true, you continue, and y is 0, this is not true. And so the whole expression is not true, okay? That's short circuit. The good thing about short circuit is that it prevents runtime error. For example, if you look at this one, this is kids not equal to 0. Okay. Suppose kids is 2, then 2 is not equal to 0. That's true. And then you do pieces divided by kids greater than or equal to 2. So you will do pieces divided by kids first. That's the arithmetic expression. Pieces is 10. 10 divided by 2 is 5. 5 is greater than or equal to 2. That's true. And so the whole thing is true, and you continue. But assume kids is 0. 0 is not equal to 0. Then this condition is false. Once it's false, you stop. You don't do anything, right? You get out of the if statement. So that's called short circuit. If you don't stop, assume you don't employ short circuit mechanism, then 0 divided by, no, 6 divided by 0 will give you a runtime error. Short circuit not only increase efficiency, it also prevents a runtime error if you use it correctly. Okay, any questions? In an AND and OR, in an AND expression, when does short circuit happen?
If one or the other is false.
Yes, yes. If an expression is false, it will stop because it knows the whole expression is false. In an OR expression, when does short circuit happen?
After the whole thing's been evaluated?
After the whole thing is evaluated?
If
Anyone
either
else?
of them is false.
Jesus, what did you say?
If either one of them is false.
I'm asking you, when does short circuit happen, right? If it's an OR expression, when does short circuit happen? When does it stop evaluating?
When one of them is true?
Yes, yes. When it encounters a true expression, it will stop. In an AND expression, when it encounters a false expression, it will stop because it knows the whole thing is false. With OR, when it encounters a true expression, it knows the whole thing is true, so it stops. That's what this is. Okay. Now, in a compound Boolean expression combined with AND with 10 smaller Boolean expressions, which expression should you place in the beginning?
First.
What is the main Boolean expression? Yes, you want to place the true expression at the beginning. Why?
Okay. Because then if it's the true one, then it just stopped. It wouldn't have to keep going and go through the rest of the
Okay. Now think about it. I'm talking about AND. So do you want to put the true condition first?
Oh, you want to put the false one because then it'd stop it.
Yes. You want to put the false condition first because once it's false, it short circuits. It stops evaluating, right, everybody? Okay.
So whatever makes it short circuit first, you want to put first?
Because this way you are saving a lot of time. Think about it. If you have 100 Boolean expressions, you don't want the system to evaluate endlessly and uselessly all the expressions. If you already know this whole expression wouldn't be true, right? You already have a false expression. Why would you go on? You want to stop. So when you design this program, you want to place the expression that's most likely to be false at the relative beginning so that the system immediately stops and go on with your program. Okay, now that's that. Any questions? So now let's go back to this. What about an expression combined with OR?
That one would be the true expression, right?
Yes, that's correct. That will be the true expression. So if you have 100, you will place the expressions that are most likely to be true at the beginning so that you don't waste time. What are the benefits of short circuit?
It can prevent runtime errors.
Very good. Very good, Autumn. Yes, and what else?
It saves CPU.
Once again?
It saves like it saves processing time.
Yes, it saves processing time. It increases efficiency. Exactly. Very good. Okay, let's go on. We don't need to do this, do we? I think you understand this. It's just when I'm asking you more applicable question, you don't know, and you have the answer here. So I'm not going to go through that. The if statement. This is actually exactly the same as in Python, except the syntax. I already talked about the syntax. Parentheses for the condition, no colon after the if condition. Okay, that's the difference. So if you look at this, if and then parentheses, right? The Boolean expression and then system dot out your statement. Okay. And here, remember this, always code as if the person who ends up maintaining your code will be a violent psychopath who knows where you live. And I'm warning you with this, everybody. Just know that I'm the one who is reading your code, right? When I ask you to submit projects, I'm the one who reads your code. And I also know where you live. With the student information. I know where you live. I know your phone number, everything. I know when you were born. So make sure you write your code in a formatted way. Write it correctly. Okay, because I know everything about you and I will take action if you don't. So this is indented because this only executes after this is true, if this is true. That's why you indent it. This is not at the same level as this, right? In Python, you have to indent it. In Java, you don't have to. If you don't indent it, it will still run, but that will not be correct. I will take points off. And I'm a psychopath also at that time, at that moment, when I read your code. Okay, everybody? So that's that. For this one, what do the following statements do? You will do this part first, right? And then compare that with total. If they are not equal, you do this. And for this one, this has to be a Boolean expression. It has to be a Boolean variable and not done. So I have the answer here. Okay. Is the following expression valid? Is this a good Boolean expression, everybody? Is this a valid Boolean expression? Can I say if parenthesis true? Is this a correct Boolean expression?
I believe so.
Who said that? Scott?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, who else? Anyone else?
Yes.
Danny, you say yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
I think yes.
You think yes? Asa?
say
Anyone
yes.
else? Anyone else?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. These are valid Boolean expressions. Remember, what does a Boolean expression give you? Eventually, what does this give you? What does this give you eventually?
A true or false statement.
Yes, a true or false, right? Eventually, it gives you a true or false. So this is a Boolean expression. It simply gives you the value without you evaluating it, because here you have to evaluate this, right? You have to evaluate this expression, and then you get the decision, you get the conclusion whether it's true or false. Here, it doesn't. You don't need to evaluate the value already is given to you. So these are correct Boolean expressions, okay? I will not let you do this. This you will do in your lab, okay? So you can look at this, right? You can do it on your own time, but not in, we simply don't have time. Oh, I did it. Okay, you look at that. If else statement, you know this also, but in Python, you have the colon after else, you have the colon after if. Here you don't. So the logic is exactly the same. These are examples. It's just a syntax thing, right? There is no, the concept is the same. Here, sometimes students make this error, okay? This is correct. This is not correct. Look at the difference. What's the difference? Doesn't have the if. So after else, you cannot have a Boolean expression unless you have an if. Okay, this is an error made often by students, by beginning students. That's why I listed here, so that to remind you that's not correct. Any questions about this?
So else if is in the same kind of way that in Python it was elif?
Yes, yes.
Oh,
yes,
because E
exactly.
is else. Okay. Okay.
Yes. Okay, any other questions? Here is an example, and we don't need to go through it. I just want you to look at the if else, right? So, and notice this is what we learned the other day, the formatting, right? You get currency, so now this object will format anything into the currency. You call the method, it will format pay into currency style. We learned that in chapter 3. Any questions here, everybody? No questions? Okay. Block statements. In Python, you do not have to, in Python, you do have block statement, but it doesn't have these curly braces. You simply, anything that's indented is a block, right? If you don't indent it, it doesn't belong to that if expression. In Java, you have to put this curly brace around it, curly brace, okay? So this makes a block statement. This makes a group of statements into one statement, a group of statements into one statement, okay? So that's called block statements. If you have more than one statement here, you must put the curly braces around that group of statements. Questions? Okay, curly braces, that's the only difference, everybody. Okay, I have detailed explanation here, so you can read that. Curly braces, basically that's the difference between Python and Java. Okay, so that's a block statement. So what is a block statement? It's more than one statement within curly braces. It makes it as a group. Either it's all or none. All statements will execute or none will execute. It's a block statement. Okay, let's look at this. So if you look at this, okay, look at this code. Does this delta equal to 0? When will this execute? Delta equal to 0. When will this execute, everybody? This will execute if the condition is true. This will execute if the condition is false. What about this one? When will this one execute?
Also, when it comes out false?
When it's false, okay. Anyone else?
It won't because there's no curly brace.
Because there is no curly brace. So you are saying, Asa, this will not execute at all?
Actually, would it be considered 0 all times because it's being initialized to 0 again? or from 100 to 0.
Okay, where is the 100? Okay, so when will this execute?
After the if else statement.
Daniel, I'm glad you're speaking up. Daniel, say it again.
After the if else statement. It's not part of those. It's not part of the block.
Very good, very good. That's correct. This, even though it's indented, in Python, this would be correct because you indented it. It's part of the else. In Java, no. Remember, how do you tell the system it's a block statement? You must use curly braces. And Asa talked about this just now. Yes, so Daniel is correct. This statement will run no matter what because it's not part of the if-else statement. It should be actually, if you format it correctly, it should be aligned with if-else, not aligned with system. But because the system, the Java system ignores the formatting, so it doesn't matter how you format it. Once it sees this, it will execute it no matter what, okay? Because it's not part of the else block statement. So the correct way to do this is this. Otherwise, delta is 0, will always be true, will always execute. Questions? I will let you, I have this done, so you can look at this, but this is showing you the block statement. What you can do is, run it, write this yourself. If you cannot work it out, look at the answer, right? Okay. Look at this and do it on your own. Nested if statement, what time is it? Nested if statement, okay. Oh, our class ends at 11:10, right? Nested if statement, this is, so for this one, only when this condition is true will this be executed, right? That's called nested because this if statement is inside this if condition. So it's a nested if statement. We will not go through this, but just know that only if this is true and this is executed. Any questions? I do have this detailed explanation there, so you will take your time to read this after class, okay? Because these are really concepts we already know, we already covered. And look at this. This is the nested if statement. So this statement will only execute if the num1 is less than num2, right? This will only execute if num1 is less than num2. Else, if num1 is not less than num2, if this condition is not true, it will go to else, and then it will do this one. And within this one, this will only execute if num2 is less than num3. So that's the nested if statement. Any questions? Here, I'm telling you that this is sometimes people format it like this. Okay, if this is true, else, if, else, if. So this is the formatting some people like, but you can simply format it like this. And this is what we learned in Python also, right? You can format it as else if. In Python is elif, right? So it's the concept is the same. Any questions? Okay. Here, I'm telling you, as a good programmer or as a professional programmer, you don't want to have this condition there. So you don't want to have if, else, if here. The reason is if you have a number, if you have two numbers, one number is either greater than the other number or less than the other number, or they must be the same. So this condition is the only other choice. And when it's the only other choice, you do not need to specify it. It's redundant. So the best way to write this is not to have this at all. Okay, just else. Do you all understand this, everybody? because this is the only other choice. So by specifying it, you are being redundant, logically redundant, and programming hates that. It's just, you don't want that, right? Okay. We want to be very logical. Programming is all about logic. So, okay, we will not do this. You will look at that, and this is the work I did. So if you don't understand, if you don't know how to do this, look at this. Okay. You can do this. Difference between multiple if statements and one if else statement. A lot of you are still sticking to this. A lot of you are still doing something like this. This is the multiple if statements. If you look at this, this is 1, this is 2, and this is 3. So you have 3 if else statement. Here you have 1 if statement. Okay. Why? Okay, here you have 1 if else statement. And there is a difference between this. Sometimes it's okay if you put it correctly, but sometimes you will have logic errors. Let's look at this, okay? The output, if temp is 100, this condition is not true. Oh, it is true. It will print out scorching. And then because there are 3 different if statements, it will evaluate this one. And this is true also. So it will print out burning. And this is also true. It will print out hot, right? Versus if it's 1 if else statement, this is true. And it will print out scorching. And then it exits because else if, it doesn't go to the else because this condition is already true. So that's the only one that's printed out. So there is a difference. When I comment, sometimes students do work, I comment you should use 1 if else statement instead of multiple if statements. And this is telling you why, okay? So you understand why, because logically this would be wrong, right? You have 3 outputs versus with 1 if else statement. This is the correct logic because you are only looking for 1 condition, not all of them. Here, all of them are true, okay? Questions about this? So with if else if, you're looking for 1 true condition and then you stop, the system stops. With multiple if statements, this is statement 1, statement 2, statement 3, so it will just continue sequentially, evaluate each condition. Okay. You will do this. Oh, we did this, right? Let's look at comparing data. Okay. Comparing data, integers, they are the same. Characters, they are the same. You're using the relational operator, less than, greater than, or equal sign, right? That's all the same. But the difference comes when you compare strings. And we learned this Unicode and ASCII, Unicode values and ASCII coding schemes. We learned that already in Python. That means all characters on your keyboard, all of them are encoded using the Unicode coding scheme. That means they are represented by a byte or 2 bytes, right, with ones and zeros. So, for example, A is represented by 65. Actually, if you type A on the keyboard, in memory, it's remembered as 01, 000001. That's 65. If you press B, uppercase B, it will be remembered as 01000010. So it's encode. That's the encoding part. That's how a character is encoded. It's called Unicode. And ASCII, 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 that scheme is a subset of Unicode. ASCII uses 1 byte to code characters, and Unicode uses 2 bytes to encode characters. Okay, so when you're comparing 2 characters, The system is actually using the values to compare them. So when you can compare A and A, my char is uppercase A, that's 65. And your char is lowercase a, which is 97. So 65 is less than 97. That would be true. That's how it's compared. So for characters, you can compare using these relational operators and equality operators. Any questions, everybody? So this lowercase a is 97. Lowercase b would be 98. Z is 122. The digits from 0 to 9 is 48 to 57. Okay, any questions? So when you do 2 is greater than a, that would be not true because 2 would be 50, right? And a is 97. So 50 is greater than 7, that's false. Okay, because 0 is 48. Okay, so that's how you compare characters. You can use the relational operators and the equality operators. However, when you compare strings, you have to compare it differently, okay? When you compare strings, you always do this using the equals method. You never use something like this. Because when the double equal sign, when you compare it with the double equal sign, you are comparing the addresses of the two reference variables. We discussed the addresses of the reference variables, so we don't need to talk about that again. So when you do this, you are comparing the addresses of the two variables. When you do this, you are comparing the contents of the two variables. We actually discussed this in Python. You remember the object identity and the structural equivalence. So this is really comparing the structural equivalence. And this is comparing the object identity if they are the same object. So this is comparing the addresses. This is comparing the content. Okay. Just remember, we very seldom compare if two objects are the same. Most likely, you are comparing if the contents of the two objects are the same. So you will always use the equals method. Okay. So let's look at equals. It's just if they are the same, right? They have the same. So if you look at this, John F. Kennedy, the two strings variables have the same content. So this would be true. This would be false because they are two different objects. They occupy two different addresses. So this will return false, okay? And here, so this compares equality. How do you compare relational? How do you say which one comes first, which one comes next? Well, this is how you do that. We use the compare to method. Compare to. So name1 dot compare to name2. This is a string method. Compare to is a string method. Okay, so it returns 0 if name1 and name2 are the same. That means they are equal. Returns negative if name1 is less. Returns positive if name1 is greater. So here is an example. Name1 is this, name2 is this. So which one is greater, everybody? Which one is greater, name1 or name2?
It would be name2.
It would be name2. Yes, name2 is greater. Why, Scott?
Because the lowercase characters are at like the very end. They're the largest actual numbers.
Okay.
So S would be like much larger number than any of the other ones.
S?
Yeah, and the CBS compared to ABC.
So how do you compare them? What is compared first?
A and C.
Yes, A and C. So when you compare A and C, which is larger?
C.
C, immediately you stop. You don't even compare the C and S because
Oh.
this already decides that this is greater. Okay. So
Okay.
Could this be could this be
Go ahead.
utilized in like a username, like doing the like alphabetical order usernames if you'd had capitals and lower cases kind of in the same, if you did an if but capitals and lower cases were in the same level, I guess. So if you did like a username, it'd start organizing username by ASCII order and
Mhm.
whatnot. So is that kind of like a basic way that companies kind of use that for username, or is that
Mhm.
something different?
Yeah, you can order them, and when it compares them, it will compare the first character first. If it can make a decision from the very first character, it stops. If they are the same, then it will compare. Okay, for example, if this is ABC and ABS, then it will compare A, they are the same, it has to continue. It compares B, they are the same, it has to continue. C and S, not the same. It will decide S is greater than C, so this ABS will be greater than ABC. But if it looks at it, the very first character, it can get the conclusion that this is less than this, it stops evaluating the other characters. Okay.
So it's not like the total of ABC and CBS?
No, it's not the total. That's something maybe some of you are confused. No, it's not the total. It evaluates each character, okay? And so if A is less than C, then it stops. It decides that ABC is less than CBS. It doesn't evaluate each character and get the total value and compare them. No.
Okay, thank you.
It's like sorting them. You know, which character comes first. It's like it's sorting them, put them in order based on the first character. If the first character are the same, it's based on the second one. If the second one is the same, it's based on the third one, etc.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. I was thinking you were talking about Unicode and
No.
yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
we are talking about Unicode, but we are not talking about calculating the total of the Unicode. We are looking at the Unicode of A and the Unicode of C. And A is 65, C is 67. So C is greater than A.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, everybody? Okay, so name 1 compared to name 2, it will return negative because ABC is less than CBS, right? Okay, so this will return negative. And name 2 that compared to name 1 will return positive because CBS is greater than ABC. So the first one, it's using the first one, the first argument, the object as the reference, as the anchor, okay? And here, string S1 is ABC, S2 is ABC. Now, when you do S1 dot compare to S2, it will return 0 because they are the same. So this is basically S1 dot equals to S2. S1 dot equals S2, it will be the same. It's just like this one. It will return. So if these are 2 different methods. This is using the compare to, it will return 0. That means it's equal, okay? So this equals method, this can only evaluate equality, everybody, only equal or not equal. If you want to sort them, put them in order, you have to use this compare to method to know which one comes first. Okay, so let's look at this example. Did I do? Okay, I did this, right? So to make it easier, you can do this. Name 1 dot compare to name 2. That will give you a positive, negative, or 0 based on the values of name 1 and name 2, right? So you place that into result. And then you can say if result is less than 0, that means name 1 is less than name 2. So that means name 1 comes first if you sort them, right? Okay, Else, if result is 0, that means they are the same. Else, that means the only other scenario which is result is a positive number. Then, no, result is a positive number. That means name 1 is greater. That means name 2 comes first. I'm looking at my own code. Okay, so if this returns positive, that means name 1 is greater than name 2. That means name 2 comes before name 1. Okay, any questions? Another way to write this same logic is this. You simply put the expression here. Okay, that expression is this expression, right? And you simply put the expression there. If it returns a number, it returns a number. If it's less than 0, you know that's the case. If it's equal to 0, that's the. So I'm just giving you these 2 different syntax. Look at that. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
No questions?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, good. Okay, lexicographic ordering. That's what we talked about. How do you compare them? Okay, I will let you read. And short strings come before longer strings with the same prefix. So book comes before book. So book is less than bookcase because bookcase has more characters. Right?
So this is adding, right? Like the Unicode, or no?
You're not adding at all. No, you're just comparing B with B. They are the same. O and O, they are the same. O and O, they are the same. K and K, they are the same. And then you are done. This is done. This still has characters that in that case, book is less than bookcase.
Right. Because if you were adding, yeah, I don't know why I'm saying adding. Because if you were adding,
you don't add.
Yeah, because if you were adding, then the word cook with a C would come before bookcase, right?
No, you don't add, just because this is the end of the string book, right? So there is no other characters to compare, but this one still has. So by default, this is greater than this.
Yeah, no, I understand. Yeah, never mind.
Okay. And this one is because G is an uppercase, so G is less than F because that's uppercase. Uppercase characters always come before lowercase characters, okay? I'm explaining here comparing objects. So when you compare objects, you always use the equals method and the compare to method, okay? Never use this. This is only comparing the addresses. I gave you some examples and you can look at this. We explained this already. You can look at that. The while statement. I want to go through the while statement. If you don't have any other questions, do you have any questions, everybody?
No.
Okay, let's go on. While statement. While loop. In Python, you do have while loop. And these are called repetition statements because they repeatedly perform a task. In Java, there are 3 loop statements. One is while, one is do, one is for. And in Python, we did have the for statement, right? So the do statement is a little bit different. So here is the syntax. Again, you have to remember to have the parentheses and no colon afterwards. If you put colon there, it will be wrong. So no colon. While condition statements. And look at this. This is called flowchart. That means it tells you the flow of the logic. You evaluate the condition, and if the condition is true, you go to the statement. And then after the statement is executed, you go back to reevaluate the condition. Okay, if it's false, you get out. So this is the logic. How do you make a loop work? Okay, this is essential. So I'm saying loop essential elements. You look at this, we have 80 slides because I added a lot of examples, a lot of exercises. So the content, the actual concepts are the same, just the if-else statements and loop and Boolean expressions, but I added a lot of things like something like this. Okay, loop essential elements. Declare and initialize a loop control variable. Choose the logically correct condition. And most importantly, update the loop control variable. Increment if you start from beginning, decrement if you start from the end, so that the loop can exit. Okay, let's look at this example. So a while loop example. This is declare a loop control variable. You start from 1, okay? So we call this a loop control variable because we are looking at the value of this variable, comparing it with a sentinel value, which is 5 in this case. That's the sentinel value. That's the value you look out for, you watch out for, and you want to stop when it's equal to that value. So this is a loop control variable. This is the Boolean expression, right? And count is the loop control variable. So because we want to go to 5, and we start from 1, we are starting from the lower end, we want to go up. When we update the loop control variable, we add to it so that you can reach 5. If you decrement, you can never reach 5, right? So from the lower to higher, if your expression is from low to high, then you increment. Okay, so that is the loop initialization, loop control variable, declaration and initialization. This is the correct loop expression, and this is the update of the variables. That's the 3 essential elements for a loop to work. When you look at your loop, always think about those 3 things, okay? That way you will not have errors. And now let's look at, okay, you understand this, right? The loop will execute 5 times and print out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because we are printing it out. And here, we do count is 6. So while count is less than or equal to 5, this condition is true or false. Everybody?
False.
It will be false. Why?
Because it's greater than 5. Your count is greater than 5.
Yes, yes, count is greater than 5. 6 is less than or equal to 5. It's not true. So we won't even enter this loop. All this will be skipped. And this loop will execute 0 times. Okay, I'm giving you examples so that you know some loop may execute 0 times. So this loop will not execute at all because the loop condition is false the very first time. Any questions? Okay. Difference in the condition example. I'm giving you, okay, if you don't understand loops, which you should because we learned this in the previous class, I'm giving you a detailed tracing of this example, okay? Count is 5, count is greater than or equal to 0, that's true, so you come in and you do this. And notice that count is 5, our ultimate goal is to reach 0, right? We start from high and we are going low. So we need to decrement. Okay, we need to decrement here. And this loop will run 6 times because 5 is greater than or equal to 0. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. That's 6 times because when it's 0, you still execute. This one will run 5 times because we start from 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. When it's 0, it doesn't run because the condition is greater than 0. Any questions? Okay, look at the tracing I'm doing here, okay? So this is called an off by 1 error, everybody, if you remember. That means we are off by just 1, simply because this one doesn't have the equal sign and this one has. That's the only difference. And then the loop will run 1 time more or less. Sentinel values. This is the sentinel value. That's the value you are looking out for, right? So you are looking for value that's not equal to 0, okay? We call that sentinel value. There is a movie, actually, Michael Douglas. It's called The Sentinel, I think. Okay, so here, let's look at this. And look at the condition. While value is not equal to 0, we increment count, we do all this. So here is my question. What's the loop control variable? What's the loop control variable here?
The value not being equal to 0.
Okay, Jesus, give me the loop control variable.
Value not equal to 0.
That's the Boolean expression.
Oh, sorry.
What's the loop control variable?
While?
Scott, what did you say?
Is it while?
The loop control variable.
Would it just be value then?
Yes, it's just value, right? Value is the loop control variable. So remember the 3 essential elements. Declare and initialize the loop control variable. Do the correct condition and update. So how is the value declared? How is the value initialized?
It's an int, but it's not like, it's not given a value.
Okay, I will let you read this again and tell me, how is the loop control variable initialized? It's declared, right? The first statement, it's declared. How is it initialized?
From whatever the user inputs.
Yes, here, right? Oops, why?
Right, yeah.
Okay, so let's go to, so here we have the loop condition, which is if it's not the while, it's not 0. Okay, how is the loop control variable updated?
Would be the count plus plus?
Okay, count plus plus. Anyone else?
Sum plus equals.
Sum plus equals. Okay, anyone else?
Actually, it says value equals scan next int.
Yes. Okay, this is how it's, oh, why does it do that? This is the loop control variable update. This is the update, okay? So how is it updated? It's updated by the user. Okay, this is not the update. Why? Why is this not the update?
Because it's just adding 1 to the count.
Okay, but why is it not the update? Adding 1 sounds very much like update. Why is it not the update statement?
Because that's not what it's initiating the count. So if you enter in another value, that's what's initiating the next count plus plus.
Because that's not what initiates count, okay? Anyone else?
Can you ask the question again?
The question is, why is count plus plus not the update statement? Everybody, you remember I said, declare and initialize the loop control variable, choose the logically correct condition, update the loop control variable, right? So those are the three essential elements. And here is my question. You said, I asked you, what's the loop control variable? You said it's value. I said, how is it initialized? You said it's here. And now my question is, my next question was, how was it updated? You answered, this is the update. I'm asking you, why is this not the update statement for the loop control variable? Should I stop this recording for now? Plus plus, not the up
Value.
Okay, what's our loop control variable?
Value.
Yes, value. So no matter what you do here, it looks like loop controls, the loop update statement, but it's not value. Value is the loop control variable. Count is not. Sum is not. They have nothing to do with the loop. No matter what you do here, it doesn't control the loop. The only value that's control the loop is the variable value. And hence, you must have this statement. You must change the value of the loop control variable. Question.
So the rest depend on value, but value doesn't depend on the rest. Is that kind of what you're saying?
These are simply the things you want to repeatedly do. This is the loop body. These are the tasks you want to do. And this is really just to control the loop, this part.
Okay.
Okay, that's the mechanism, right? If you want to, what do you want to do? You want to build a house. You must have the structure, right? Foundation and then structure. And then you can build it different ways. You can hang pictures on your walls, etc. Those are the things you want to do and you want to repeatedly do. But the mechanism must be there. The structure must be there for your house to work. And this is the structure. The structure is you must initialize your loop control variable here. Declare it here, right? And initialize it. And you must have the correct loop condition. And this is the loop condition. And you must update it. This is the mechanism to maintain the loop, to make the loop work. These are really have nothing, these have nothing to do with the loop. These are the work you want to do. So what is the work? Eventually, you want to calculate the average. That's why you have a count, because you need to know how many numbers are there. That's why you have this sum statement, because you need to know the total and divide that by the count, by the number of elements. So these are the essential work you want to do. But this is the mechanism, the structure for the loop. Questions?
I do have one question.
Okay.
How come, where does it print out sum? Like it says the sum so far is 25, right?
Yeah.
Does it print it out the first time? Because it's yeah, it's ahead of enter an integer
Look at,
0.
look at this, Jesus, look at what I highlighted. Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay, that's where it's printed.
Right. Okay.
Every
So,
time.
but does it print it out the first time?
What do you mean the first time? Once it comes into the loop, it will print it out. So you enter 25, right? And your sum is initialized to 0. So you enter 25, you entered 25, and 25 is not 0, that's true. And then you increment count, your count is 1, and your sum is 0 plus 25, that gives you 25. And you print it out, it gives you 25.
Right, but my question is that sum plus equal value system printout for the sum comes before the system out print enter an integer 0 to quit. So if that's the first time you enter an integer at 0, is a sum not being printed out because the value is you haven't entered a value for value?
I don't quite understand the question, but let me just go through this logic, right? Okay,
I understand what he's asking. If you
okay, you
like,
go ahead.
so if we take the sample run and we just add a like up before, so enter an integer 0 to quit 25. He's asking before that, would it say the sum so far is 0 because you haven't entered a value yet? So he's asking like, would it go through the total coding first, like the total loop first, and then say that the number or the sum is 0, and then enter a value, enter an integer larger than 0.
Yeah, basically I'm asking why doesn't the program print out the sum so far is first before it prints out enter an integer 0 to quit?
Because this statement goes first.
Right, that's why I'm asking, shouldn't that print first before enter an integer?
Oh, okay, it's here. That's the very first time.
Okay, I see it now.
Okay, that's the very first time. So the first time, this is that code. This is from here. I see
Got
your
it.
question. Okay, that's from this statement and read. And so, and then you print out sum, and then you do this one. So this is a repetition of that statement. That's this one, right? And then you get the value, you go back to compare it with 0, and then you add that value to it.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Okay, it's this part. Okay, any other questions?
So I think it was last class we talked about how print lines sometimes will pick up a new character variable. So is this being stopped because right after your system scan int, you have system.out print line?
Okay, you are talking about this part?
Right, and it's not picking up the new character because right after that statement, it says right above the if count equals 0. Right above that, you have system out print line. Is that what's stopping it from picking up that new character?
Picking up the new character. Okay, remember, so this is this stops right here, right, without the new line character. And when you do this, it press enter, right? You press enter. There is an enter key, but okay, you're asking about this one. This is not picking up the new line character because it skips new line characters. Remember, next int, next float, next double, next, they all skip white spaces.
Okay, so it's just next to like when you're doing like a lot, not next line, but like
Only when you do next
like
line.
character. Yeah, okay.
Next line will always pick up anything in the input stream. These all skip the new line characters.
Gotcha.
So is next line mainly for strings?
Next line is not mainly, it's completely just for strings because next line is only for strings.
So we don't have to worry about that on stuff like this, I would assume.
Next int, yes, you don't have to worry about it because once again, next int, I say this, you might not completely understand it, but next int, next float, next double, next, they skip any white spaces. So the thing to remember is if you cannot pick up the user input, it skips the user input. Go back, look at your code and think, oh, that might be the new line character problem, right? In this case, you won't have that problem because you don't have a next line. Yes.
So let's say it skips white spaces, right? So let's say I type instead of typing 30, I type in 3 space 0 enter.
That's not okay. That's two numbers. It will pick up the first one.
Okay, thank you.
The second one, it will not pick up. Because it skips white spaces. That's a great question. It skips white spaces. It also stops. Once it sees a white space, it stops.
So space 3 would not work.
No. Oh, space 3 will work because it skips the white space. It reads a number, and until it reads a number, it won't stop. But as soon as it reads a number, it will stop. So if you enter space 3, space 0, it will only pick up the 3, not 0, because after 3, there is a space. It will stop reading. Before 3, there is a space. It skips it because it's looking for the next int. So as soon as it sees an int, it reads it and stops. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay. Any you have a lot of questions, people. Okay, any other questions? That's good. That means you are thinking about it. That's good. I like questions. No? No more questions? We are out of time, everybody.
So we actually don't leave class till 11:35. But
We actually leave class at 11:10. But I don't mind go on. If you don't
I guess
mind,
I got
are you
my
okay,
schedule.
everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Hey,
fine.
we can
if
keep
we
going.
wanted to keep going.
Okay, let's finish this, right? It doesn't mention value in count plus plus. Yeah, this is Brian's answer. Brian, why didn't you say so? Yes, value is, I don't read the chat when I'm lecturing, so you can just tell me. Brian answered
Okay.
correctly, actually. Yes, this is not the loop control variable. I think you were answering that question. Why is count plus plus not the, because it's not the loop control variable. Okay, any other questions about this? No? We can go on, okay?
Yes.
Okay, you do this, right? Okay, input validation. A loop can also be used for input validation. Am I recording? Yes. Making a program more robust. It's generally a good idea to verify that input is valid. We did this in Python, but let's look at this example, okay? Okay, I'm going to ask you, what is the loop control variable in this loop?
1.
1, yes, that's the loop control variable, right? 1, that's correct. Okay, how is it initialized? How is it declared and initialized? It's declared here. How is it initialized?
By the user input.
Yes, here, right? Okay, so once again, you must declare and initialize a loop control variable. You must do the correct condition. Your condition must be correct. If you do 1 is greater than 0, the logic is wrong. So logic, this must be logically correct. And you must update the loop control variable. So identify your loop control variable. It's very important because you need to update it. And we have identified our loop control variable, that's 1. So where is the update?
Would the update be 1 is greater than number of games?
That's a loop. That's a Boolean expression. It's not
Okay,
an
okay.
update.
It's entered by the user again.
Okay, tell me the statement.
Gotcha.
Give me the statement.
While equals scan int next dot next int.
Yes, yes. 1 is equal to scan.next int. This is the loop control variables update. You are getting a new value. That's update, right? You can increment it, you can decrement it, you can multiply, you can also refresh it by getting a new value from the user. And this is getting a new value. And no matter what, you need to change it. Otherwise, if it's static, your condition will never change. Then you are in an endless loop. So this is changing the value of 1 so that your loop condition can be one of these days false, and you can exit the loop. Okay. So 1 is less than 0, or 1 is greater than num games. Num games is 12. So this is saying your input should be greater than 0 and less than num of games. If it's out of that range, you have to enter it again. That's called user input validation, right? You are validify, how do you say that? Validify that user input. So this is saying if it's less than 0, or if it's greater than 12, it's out of the range. You need to re-enter. This is called user input validation. Any questions? So if you look at this, -5 out, 13 out, 7 in. It's not less than 0. It's not greater than num games, 12. So it's in. And once you enter a correct input, you are done. It begins to do this. So this loop, its sole purpose is not to perform any other tasks like the previous one. If you look at this one, this loop, its work is really doing the count how many numbers and then accumulate them to the sum, right? That's the work it's doing. Here, the work here, this loop is doing is simply to ask you to enter a correct number in the range. So that's called loop validation, input validation, user input validation. Any questions about this?
You're on, John.
I cannot, I'm sorry. How do I? Okay, so this is this. Any questions, everybody?
No, I think we're good.
You're on, John.
Oh my God. Give me 1 second. Understand this?
Yeah, I think so.
You think so?
Yes.
Okay. Anyone has any questions? Just ask.
We can definitely go over just to make sure, but yeah. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Let's see. User input validation. I'm asking you to write a program to do that. Infinite loop. The body of a while loop eventually must make the condition false. So, you know, we keep talking about these 3 things. I keep talking about these 3 things, right? Why do we need to update a loop control variable? Because if you don't update, your loop control variable's value will stay the same and it will never exit the loop. So to prevent an endless loop, you really need to make sure you follow those essential elements. The body of a while loop eventually must make the condition false. That's by the update statement. If not, it is called an infinite loop. You know this, right? So you should always double check the logic of a program to ensure that your loops will terminate normally. Check the initial value of the variable used. Check the Boolean expression, check and see if it is updated correctly. Yeah, the emergency, my husband went there. Okay, so if you look at this, count is 1, while count is less than or equal to 5. Okay, why is this does this loop work, everybody? You see, it has a loop control variable declared and initialized. It has a condition and it has an update statement. So is this a correct loop?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Anyone else?
It's gonna run forever, but I mean, I guess that's
it works.
It's going
but yeah,
to run forever. This is an endless loop.
Mm-hmm.
It's an endless loop. It will run forever, takes over your computer CPU and memory, and crash your computer eventually if you don't stop it, because the update statement is not right here.
It works, it's not correctly.
Or you can say the condition is not correct. So one or the other you need to change, because your condition is less than 25. The initial condition is already true and you are decrementing count. So count will forever be less than 25. Okay, so let's look at this one. Oh, isn't this the same? Oh, no. I don't know why this does this. Okay, so what's wrong here? Not the same. What's wrong here? Here, notice that you have a semicolon, everybody. And this is a trivial thing to have, but it's a tremendous, disastrous mistake to have, because a semicolon means an empty statement. An empty statement means it doesn't do anything. So it keeps evaluating this condition without going to this body at all, because this to the system is the body. That semicolon is the body. So the body does not increment or decrement count. It's not getting a new value for count. It's doing nothing. So count is forever 1. And this condition is always true. So this is an endless loop. This is the simplest endless loop, but the most detrimental endless loop, right? You don't see it, but it is an endless loop, okay? And look at this one. What's wrong with this one, everybody?
There's no update to the count, so it
No
doesn't.
update statement, so count forever stays the same. What about this one? The last one. What's wrong with the last one?
The scan next int isn't in the body.
Yes, yes, okay. We got the first value. So this is loop declaration. No, this is the control variable declaration and initialization. That's good, we have that. This is the condition. That's good, we have that. We don't have a semicolon afterwards. That's good. And here we print it out and we ask the user to enter, but we never really give the user a chance to enter anything. So you need to really put this statement in again, not int, but just count equals to scan.nextInt after this statement, right? After this statement, you need to have this statement, okay? So that's the problem. There is no update, once again. No update, no update. This is a semicolon. This is the wrong update. That's the infinite loop. A break, you all understand break. Oh, we will do the next one. Yeah, we are almost done. So a break statement will transfer control outside the current loop. I think you are pretty familiar with this. If this is 53, you break, you get out. We learned this in Python, and you all can use it pretty easily. Do you all understand this, everybody?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, break, remember break gets out of the loop, not just the if statement. Okay, it gets out of the loop completely. And here, continue will skip that round. So if x is 53, it will not do this. It will skip this. It will go back immediately to the loop. So continue means go back to the loop. Do not do anything else. So this code segment will print out 1 to 52, skip 53, and print out the rest. Okay, that's the continue. Those are the two statements, break and continue. Any questions? Nested loop, that means you can have a loop within the loop, okay? Similar to nested if statements. If you look at this is a loop, that's the outer loop. And now you have an inner loop. Okay, so this loop will run within this loop. So how many times will this loop run? How many times will this loop run? This loop will run every time this is true, right? Okay, and here this loop will run. The condition is this. This is the condition for this one. So if you look at how this loop, the condition is another that equals ignore case. Equals ignore case. The difference between this from equals is that this ignores case. So uppercase, lowercase are both okay, while equals will distinguish between different cases. So you remember for string, you have equals, right, to compare equality. Here, this is equals ignore case, don't care about case. Okay, I'm not going to go through this, but I want to explain this. So let's look at this. So what is the loop control variable for the outer loop? What is the loop control variable? Nope, here. For this loop, what's the loop control variable? You are here, right, everybody?
Yeah, I'm just trying to read it.
What's the loop control variable?
Another?
Another, yes, that's correct. Another. Okay, that's the loop control variable. So another is the loop control variable. How is it updated? Is it updated? How?
The str.scan.nextLine or equals scan.nextLine.
str? Where is str?
I can't. The while and then I don't know, string str from at 2 lines under, I guess.
Oh, you're talking about this. So you're saying this is the update for the loop control variable.
Or would it be another equals scan.nextLine?
Okay, then Asa, make up your mind. Which one?
That's a good question. Another equals scan.nextLine.
Okay, anyone
because
I
else?
was originally going to say str, but yeah, I didn't know.
Okay,
I didn't
Brian,
notice
what
the
did you
amount.
say? Brian.
I said I was originally going to say str. Yeah, I was originally going to say str equals scan dot next line, but then I didn't notice the another. So.
Okay. Anyone else?
You still there? Okay.
Anyone else? What's the update statement? You see, only if you understand this mechanism can you do your loop correctly, right? So you need to be able to identify your loop control variable so that you can do the loop correctly. So what's the update statement if you look at this loop? I know Asa answered, and I want to know what other students think. What is the update statement? Danny, what's the update statement? Scott, what's the update statement? Are you still here, Jose?
Sorry, I was in the restroom.
Oh, okay. Adrian, what's the update statement? You
I'm
are
not too
still
sure
here.
on that.
You're not
Yes.
sure. Okay, Tyler, what's the update statement?
Is it the string length -1?
Okay, Isaac, what's the update statement?
String equals scan dot next line.
Okay, Asa answered. Who else? Daniel Perez.
It's the scan.
Which one?
The next line, or the string. Could you go back to that, please? Sorry. I'm seeing your face cam right now.
Okay, which one?
The str equals scan dot next line.
Okay, that's the update statement. Okay,